begin, I'd like everyone to please stand. Thank you. And I'd like you to remain standing if the answers to the following of my questions are yes. Are you familiar with the agricultural industry or have any plant science knowledge? It's okay, it's okay. Are you familiar with the term GMO? Thank you. Can you name any specific strain of plant that has been titled with GMO? Okay, thank you. You can have a seat now. For those of you that were unfamiliar with the term GMO, it stands for genetically modified organisms. GMOs are organisms that have had their characteristics changed through the modification of their DNA. Scientists have been able to pinpoint certain genes of their DNA and be able to breed them with new plants or crossbreed them with other plants in order to produce a more desired trait. Some people believe that GMOs are bad for our health, poisonous, or can even be detrimental to our environment. However, I'm here today to show you the benefits of genetically modified organisms, especially within the corn production area. These benefits include that genetically modified corn strands have been able to produce higher crop yields. This means that these genetically modified corn strains are able to produce more food per acreage. They have been able to decrease costs for food production because they're able to produce more food with less amount of space. They've reduced the need for pesticides, which in turn have been able to protect the environment in a better manner. We've been able to increase nutrient composition in certain plants. We've had greater food security because we've been able to produce more food. And in some cases, we've had better medical benefits for these corn strains. For thousands of years, farmers have been able to produce better corn because they've been using methods such as natural selection and crossbreeding in order to produce a better desired corn plant. Farmers would go out to their fields, they'd select the largest corn size, the strongest looking corn plant, and the healthiest looking corn plant in order to harvest those plants, have those seeds, and be able to take them and plant them for the next growing season so that their crops look better in the future. Over time, farmers were able to greatly change what a common cornfield looked like because of those natural selection qualities. The FDA points out that corn is the most commonly grown crop within the United States, and most of it has been genetically modified. So as you drive to school, to work, to grab something to eat, all those cornfields that you pass along the way have been genetically modified in different ways. Most corn has been genetically modified, as I previously stated, to resist certain insects, pests, or to be able to tolerate certain herbicides. Bollaceous thuringiensis, also known as BT corn, is a genetically modified corn strain that produce proteins that are toxic to certain pests, insects, but not to humans, animals, or certain livestock animals. Basically, this strain of corn has been able to have its own built-in pesticide, so we get rid of the necessity of that pesticide. So this is a perfect example of what Ben said earlier, that these pesticides that farmers used to use, they had an effect on small animals, livestock, and when they get into those runoff rivers, they affect other plant growth as well. So by limiting the need for pesticides, we've been able to help protect the environment because we don't need to spray those pesticides on the genetically modified corn strains. Here we go. The National Academy of Science stated that genetically modified corn is safe for humans' consumption. A lot of uneducated people think that genetically modified organisms are unsafe to eat because we've altered their DNA, and they assume that because of that altered DNA, that it's no longer safe for us to eat. However, Purdue University stated that over the past 2 decades that genetically modified organisms have been on the market, there have been no linked causes to health issues after consuming genetically modified organisms. Lastly, for those of you that don't know, we've been facing a food crisis within the agricultural industry. As you guys know, the population is growing, but the amount of corn and land to be able to grow these crops has greatly decreased with the construction of different malls, roadways, or anything realistically. So this is a big problem. We've been unable to produce enough food for this growing population, but with the help of genetically modified organisms, we've been able to stabilize this problem. Researchers have said that Over time, they've been reliably been able to increase crop yields by 10% by using genetically modified organisms. Veneta.org says that it's been taking less land to grow more food because we've been able to stabilize that food production. GMOs have been able to solve our food insecurity problems because we are producing more food per acreage. I'd like to leave you with this in mind, that genetically modified crops have been able to continue, and they will be able to continue to produce better and more food within the agricultural industry.
Okay, Ben, remind him what you talked about.